So you are here for one of two reasons. One is you're already into board games and you just want to hear about more board games. Or you are here because you are a cozy video game lover and you didn't know about or you are interested in cozy board games. Either way, I am here. Hello friends, my name is Jenna. Welcome to the Board Game Garden. If you are new here, thank you so much for coming over here, watching the video. If you are not new here, thank you so much for coming back. Hello, welcome back to the channel. But yes, I am very excited for this video. This has been a video that I have been wanting to do for a while. It is one that I've been doing a lot of planning for, and as both a video game lover and a board game lover, specifically cozy video games and cozy board games, I felt like this was a really fun video to do, kind of introducing these cozy board games to cozy video gamers that may not know about this whole world. If you guys are wanting to see all of these different recommendations for board games that I recommend for cozy video gamers, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. This is a great place to come if you want to learn more about board games, specifically very cozy, warm, welcoming board games. I definitely recommend subscribing, hanging out so that you can watch more videos. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this video, shall we? Alright, so I'm going to be breaking up this video into a few different categories, and these are going to be categories that I often find in this cozy video game genre. So we're going to go through 5 different categories, and then at the end I will be going through a few miscellaneous recommendations of board games that didn't quite fit into all of the other categories, but I still felt were good recommendations for cozy video gamers. So yes, the first category is going to be the farming, social simulation type video game. So these are games like Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, Disney Dreamlight Valley, Story of Seasons, Fields of Mysteria, which I haven't played that one yet and I really do want to. But all of these games where you are going to be farming, you're going to be kind of in a community, you're going to be talking to the residents of the community, building relationships, that kind of video game. These are going to be recommendations for board games that kind of give that feel. So the first one is pretty obvious, and that is Stardew Valley, the board game, which I have right here beside me. This is a cooperative game where you are going to be kind of doing the same things that you are doing in Stardew Valley, but in board game form. It is cooperative, so you are working together. This one can be played solo, which right off the bat, I will say that most of these games, if not all of them, can be played solo. If there is not an actual solo mode for the game, most of the time if you go onto Board Game Geek, which I will have Board Game Geek linked down below, if you go there, most of the time there is a like fan-made solo mode for the game, if not like an official solo mode that they've added later. So that's just a little tip for you if you're looking for a solo board game and the game that you are interested in may not actually have a solo mode. Go check out Board Game Geek because most of the time there is a solo mode there. So yes, Stardew Valley the board game can be played solo. I personally prefer it solo just because I love kind of moving around the pieces, doing the different actions by myself and controlling a few different characters, trying to get all of the different things complete. Basically, you're going to have a bunch of Grandpa's goals. So these are going to be goals that you're trying to complete by the end of the game. And then you're also trying to complete a lot of the community center goals as well. And if you're able to complete all of those by the end of the game, by the end of the like 4 seasons, because it's a little season deck that you go through, you win the game, which, fun fact, I have not actually ever won Stardew Valley the board game. So it's a very challenging game. I really, really enjoy it. I actually enjoy a bit of a challenge in the game because it actually makes me want to go back to the game over and over again to try and beat it. That is the first recommendation that I wanted to talk about, which is Stardew Valley the board game. Most cozy video gamers might know about this one already, but yeah, it is wonderful. Moving on to the next one, this is a game called Wild Gardens, which again is behind me if you guys can see it here. I don't know if it's quite off camera or not, But Wild Gardens is a very, very cute game. I absolutely love it. It does have a solo mode, and the solo mode does play quite a bit differently from the multiplayer, because when you play solo, you are playing through these different solo scenarios that bring in more of a story to the game, which I absolutely love. I think, again, very much like Stardew Valley the board game, I prefer Wild Gardens solo because I really like that immersive story that you're going into. Basically, with the solo scenarios, you're going to have a specific setup, and then you are going to be basically, I haven't actually talked about what you're doing in Wild Gardens. Basically, you are moving around this board and you are collecting different ingredients. You are foraging different ingredients in order to make these different dishes that then the different characters within the game, you are going to serve them to those characters. Which in the multiplayer game, you are foraging, you are cooking the dishes, and then you are, serving those dishes to these different people or your friends. Whereas in the solo game, you have specific characters that are going to be coming into the game, and you're going to specifically need to serve them things to kind of progress in the story, and there's going to be more characters that come along, and there's more of a story behind it, like I said. So yes, Wild Gardens is absolutely wonderful. It's all about foraging, cooking, and serving those dishes to your friends, which I just absolutely love. So yeah, I really wanted to recommend that one as well. Moving on to the third game in this category. This is literally the coziest farming game that you can find in a board game, and that is a game called Harvest, which I love Harvest so much. It is just strictly a farming game. It is worker placement, where you're placing down workers and doing different actions based off of where you put those workers. And the actions are going to be building up your farm, planting seeds, growing your different crops, and then harvesting those crops for money and victory points. And then whoever at the end has the most victory points will be the winner. You're also bringing in these different buildings into your farm, and I just love the feel of this game. It is fairly simple. It can be played solo, so that is a big thumbs up. And there also is a new expansion for this game called the Fall Festival expansion, and it's one that I really do want to get my hands on because obviously it adds in that cozy fall vibe to the game as well, which we love around here. So yes, Harvest is wonderful. If you are looking for that farming simulation game, this is the one for you. It also has very cute characters and anthropomorphic animals. I believe that's the word. So yeah, all around perfect cozy board game, Harvest. Next up is a bigger game, but I feel like this is literally the perfect game if you think of a board game that simulates Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley, and that is a game called Mythwind, which this is a game that you can play multiplayer as well as solo. I definitely recommend playing it solo. I prefer it solo over multiplayer, and that is because when you play it multiplayer, each player is going to be playing as a different character. So there is the crafter, there is the farmer, the merchant, as well as the innkeeper, and a few other characters as well. Which, fun fact, I actually am designing with a friend a character for this game, which is very exciting and an opportunity that I did not expect to ever be able to be part of. But yes, we are creating the herbalist, which, oh my goodness, I cannot wait for that to come out. But yes, Mythwind, you are playing as a different character, and each character plays completely different. So when you are playing this multiplayer, each player does have to kind of learn their own game and how their character plays. But you then have a cooperative goal of building up your town. So you're going to be building different buildings within the town. You're going through an entire story in this game as well. So it definitely is a very large scope game, but overall the game is pretty simple, and it is just very immersive, very fun. This is an interesting game within the board game community because a lot of board gamers really like to have an end game goal and trying to get victory points and having that end game, what am I doing to get to the end type of thing. But within Mythwind, and often in cozy video games as well, there's not necessarily an end game goal. You're kind of just building up this like town or community, very much so like in Animal Crossing. And Stardew Valley, there's a little bit of like an end game per se, but you can, you know, play as long as you want. And it's kind of what they call grindy, so you are doing kind of the same things each day. So that is often something that some board gamers don't love. And as someone that does love that grind and building up that kind of world, Mythwind is one that I absolutely love. Mythwind is a game that really feels different within the board game community and is just one that I absolutely love. So yes, I definitely recommend it if you're looking for that feel of like grinding through a story and building up that community. There is an additional like new expansion that just recently came out called the Friends and Family expansion that brings in characters that you can build relationships with, and it also does build kind of some interaction between all of the characters as well. I haven't played the expansion yet, but I have heard some good things about it. So yeah, definitely recommend Mythwind. It is wonderful. And then lastly, for this category, we have a game called Tend, which Tend is not, when I'm filming this video, technically out yet. I do have a prototype of it and I have played it many times, and I'm going to say right now that it is probably within like my top 10, top 20 games, board games of all time, because it is as close to like Stardew Valley in a board game that I have found, and I just absolutely love the gameplay of this one. You are going out and chopping down trees, you are going into the mines and mining for different geodes and rocks, you are fishing, you are planting crops, and you are having animals in your little farm, and there's just so many things that remind me of Stardew Valley. But then with that, the gameplay of it and how you are playing it is just so much fun, and it's very unique from other games that I have played. So yes, once you can get your hands on Tend, I definitely recommend it. It is fantastic. It is considered a roll/flip and write, which is a genre of board game that in general, roll and writes, flip and writes, I feel like are very good recommendations. Any of those types of games are great recommendations for like a cozy game, because they are easy to learn, easy to get to the table, and are just very comforting. So yeah, definitely look into roll and writes, flip and writes overall. But yeah, Tend is absolutely fantastic and one of my favorite roll/flip and writes. So definitely recommend checking it out. Moving into the second category, I am going to try to start speeding these up because I feel like this video is going to be very long, but I guess as you're watching this video, you can kind of skip from category to category, whatever ones you're most interested in. But the next category is going to be like flora and fauna, I guess, like animals, anthropomorphic animals, different like garden and flower type games. These are going to be board games that if you enjoy the cozy video games like Cozy Grove, Beacon Pines, Bear and Breakfast, Botany Manor is like a flower one, Strange Horticulture, different games like that. These are going to be board games that I definitely recommend. So the first one that I wanted to mention is a game called Creature Comforts. There's also another one that is kind of in the same world as this called Maple Valley. I have yet to play that one, but it's in the same world and kind of has the same cozy vibe. But in Creature Comforts, you are a family of animals and you are building up your home for the winter. So you're going into hibernation and you are trying to create the coziest possible home to live in throughout the winter, which I think is the most adorable thing. You're collecting different cards and doing a lot of like set collection, resource management and stuff like that. And just overall, the vibes of this one is very warm and cozy, and if you like that type of game, I definitely recommend you check it out. Next up is actually a whole series of games that I want to recommend. This publisher does a whole series of games that I think that cozy video gamers would really enjoy. They're all very puzzly, so if you enjoy a puzzly type of game, these I do recommend. They all have an animal or flower theme to them, so that is the whole series from Flat Out Games. So these are games like Calico, Cascadia, Verdant, Fit to Print, Nocturne, as well as Knitting Circle. These are all in the same kind of series. They're all different and they all play completely different, but in general, they all bring that cozy, puzzly vibe if you're looking for that. I will also mention that there is actually a video game of Calico as well as Cascadia. They have put them onto Steam if you want to go and check those out. I love both of those. Calico on Steam actually has like a solo story mode that you can go through, which I've really enjoyed. But overall, they are all absolutely fantastic. They all, like I said, play completely different, but they are all in that category of just very puzzly, drafting things, placing them into like a tableau of some sort in order to gain victory points in various ways. So I definitely recommend going and checking them all out, seeing what theme kind of appeals to you and your personal taste. But yeah, the Flat Out Games series, absolutely fantastic. Now going along with that puzzly feel, there is another game that kind of goes into this same category, but it is from a different publisher, and that is Harmonies. So Harmonies is again a very puzzly game where you are drafting things and placing them into an area in order to gain victory points. But in this one, you are drafting these little disc kind of pieces and you're going to be stacking them and placing them in this habitat in order to create various patterns that go along with the scoring conditions for the different landscapes, as well as the scoring conditions for the different animals, because each of these different animals are going to have specific ways that they want these discs to be placed in order for you to score for that animal. And you're going to have to draft that animal card in order to score it. But yeah, if you really enjoy, again, all of those flat out games, this one is another one in that kind of puzzly category that I definitely recommend. Next one is a game that I absolutely love. It is a little bit of a bigger game, so keep that in mind. But this one kind of gives me the vibes of like Pokemon in a way, but the game is Wondrous Creatures. So this is a worker placement game. We're going to be collecting various resources in order to play out these different cards that are all of these wondrous creatures, and all of these cards are going to be doing different things in different ways, but they are all different wondrous creatures. I absolutely love the art in this game and all of the cards. There are a ton of different cards with all of these mythical creatures that are just so beautiful and so creative, and you're building out a tableau of all of these different cards that are going to be kind of chaining together and doing different things, and it is just so satisfying, so beautiful. You have a bunch of different goals that you're going for based off of the different icons on the cards that you're collecting in front of you. And yeah, I 100% recommend this one. It is stunning. If you guys see, I will be putting up the boxes here, but the art in this game, the box in this game, oh my goodness, I can't say enough good things about the art as well as the gameplay of this game. So yes, Wondrous Creatures, I 1000% recommend. Another one that I want to mention is one that is more so on the botany manor, strange horticulture kind of plant growing side of this category, and that is a game called Botany, which Botany is a game all about going out and delivering and collecting flowers. It is a pick up and deliver game where you're going to be gaining these different flowers, and then you're going to need to go and get those flowers from those specific locations, bring them back to your kind of area, and you're going to be collecting these different flowers to gain victory points. I've only played this game a few times, but it definitely does give that vibe of strange horticulture and botany manor, and discovering these different plants and collecting these different plants in order to gain victory points in different ways. Yes, it is just absolutely stunning. So that is one that I quickly wanted to mention. And then lastly is one that I am sure some of you might already know about because this game was quite popular and still is quite popular, and that is a game called Flamecraft, which Flamecraft, the world of Flamecraft is just absolutely amazing. Sandara Tang is the illustrator of Flamecraft, and she did a fantastic job when it came to the world building in this game and the art in this game. Oh my goodness. It is this enchanting world of these dragons working at these different shops, and I just definitely recommend it if you haven't checked it out yet. It is wonderful. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm sure a lot of people here already know about it, but yes, they also have a new Flamecraft Duels coming out as well that can be played solo too, and that is a little bit more on the smaller kind of puzzly side, a little bit more like abstract game, if you will, kind of like chess, checkers like, but it still looks absolutely amazing, and definitely recommend diving into the world of Flamecraft because it is very cute, very fun, and I definitely recommend. So that is Flamecraft. All right, so moving into the third category, this is personally one of my favorite categories, and that is the witchy or spooky category, which I absolutely love this kind of theme in a board game and in video games, honestly. I actually need to play more witchy themed video games. I am very much so looking forward to Witchbrook when that comes out, but if you enjoy games like Wild Flowers is one that I've still yet to try, Little Witch in the Woods, there is like Potion Permit, Potion Craft, Strange Horticulture kind of gives that vibe as well of like spooky, witchy kind of theme. But these are all games if you enjoy that type of vibe. The first one is going to be a game called Witchcraft, which this is a solo only game, so you can't play this one multiplayer, and it is quite a challenging game, so keep that in mind. But basically in this game, you are going to have cards that are different witches from your coven, and you're going to be playing out these cards either in their hidden form or in their kind of outed form, if that makes sense. If you play them in their hidden form, they're going to have a less strong ability, and if you play them in their open form, that means that they have, you know, done a spell in front of people, and they're not so hidden as a witch. They actually get caught and they're taken to jail. So you are playing that card for a more strong ability, but you are then losing that card. So it's a very fun puzzle in that respect. And you're going to these different locations trying to fight these different creatures in order to defeat this location and kind of take over this location. There's a little bit more to it, but if you really like that witchy vibe and you want a challenging game where you're playing as witches, I definitely recommend that one. So that is Witchcraft. All right, two games that I want to quickly mention that are a little bit heavier of games, but I absolutely love both of these games. And if you're looking for a heavier board game, if you're already into board games and you really want a witchy, more heavy, larger scale board game, the first one is going to be Septima. This is a game all about building up your coven of witches, and then you're going to be playing out these different cards. You're going to be going out and foraging for these different ingredients for your potions. You're going to be brewing your potions, giving potions to sick people in the village, and you're also going to be avoiding these witch hunters, and there's a lot going on in this game, but the art in this game is absolutely fantastic. The gameplay is very, very fun, both solo and multiplayer. In the multiplayer game, there's a lot of really cool player interaction, so if that's something that you enjoy, definitely recommend checking it out. There is also with Septima the like animal shifting expansion where you can like shift into your animal form. And just overall, this game is wonderful and just gives that witchy vibe if that's something that you're looking for. So that is Septima. And then the second one that I really wanted to mention that is a heavier game is a game called Evenfall, which this again, you are playing out cards in different ways. This is a game that has multi-use cards, which is one of my favorite mechanisms in board games. But this one can be played solo. Haven't played it solo yet personally, but I really do want to because it looks really cool. And I feel like, you know, as we're getting into the spooky season, this is probably a good time for me to play it solo, so maybe I'll do that soon. But yes, this one, you have a coven and there's a little bit of worker placement, and then there's also those multi-use cards as well, and you're building out a tableau of your different circles within your coven, and you have your elders and your normal witches that can be placed in different spots. a lot going on in this game again, but it is absolutely fantastic, and the art in this one again is so cool. There is some like resource management again, where you're collecting resources in order to play the specific cards, and yes, both Septima and Evenfall, amazing games if you're looking for that heavier board game experience. Moving into the next one, this is a game from the same designer and the same illustrator as Flamecraft, and that is T-Witches. T-Witches is a newer release that I am so excited to get to the table soon. This one is absolutely wonderful. I've only played it once thus far, but it is just, amazing. I love the look of this game. I love the gameplay of this game. There's a little bit of push your luck in this game, which is a fun little mechanism. There's also worker placement again, and you are collecting ingredients with your teapup. In this game, you are basically a witch that has a tea stall at the Tequinox Fair, and you are brewing different tea in order to serve to these different witches at this Tequinox Fair. And yes, there's lots of fun witch and tea puns in this game. I will say that this one does not have a solo mode currently, but I do kind of anticipate there being a solo mode, either an official one that comes out later or like a fan-made solo mode, hopefully in the future. So fingers crossed for that. But yes, T-Witches, absolutely wonderful. Definitely recommend checking it out. All right, and lastly, I wanted to mention this game. It is not out yet, and I haven't played it personally, but it is one that I am anticipating very much, and that is a game called Witchbound, which just the cover of this game gets me so excited. And the premise for this game, which is, it is a solo-only game, so you can only play this solo. I guess you could play it cooperatively with like a friend or a partner together, because it is kind of a choose-your-own-adventure story game where you're going through different kind of pictures that are going to have different numbers everywhere, and you can kind of choose your own adventure and go along on this narrative story. I'm not sure the like full-on gameplay of it. I don't know if there's any sort of like resource collection or what you were doing in the game, or if it's solely just like a choose your own adventure type of game, but I am very much still looking forward to this one. I do think I'm getting a copy, so I'm excited to jump into it this spooky season, hopefully. And yeah, I will definitely tell you guys more about it if I do play it. But yeah, that is Witchbound, and those are all of the cozy witchy games that I have to recommend. All right, so moving into the next category, this kind of has some like spooky, witchy vibes in it, and that is because I feel like this type of game with books and libraries tend to lean towards that spooky vibe. So this is kind of the books and library category of this, because there are a few. I do know that Tiny Bookshop is a very popular cozy video game right now, and a lot of cozy video gamers tend to be book lovers as well. So this type of game I feel like is a good one for a lot of you out there. So yes, first one that I wanted to recommend is a game called Athenium Mystic Library, which this is all about organizing books on bookshelves in a mythical or mystical library. And it is so much fun. You are getting these different books by drafting these cards, and then you're placing these books onto these different bookshelves in order to create different configurations of books that then allow you to kind of achieve these different goals and get victory points. And I just love the action, because you literally get like little books that you're placing onto a bookshelf, and you're organizing them in different ways. All of the books have different titles on the spines of them, so it's always fun to like read all of the different titles for the books and try to configure them, and then move the books to kind of configure for other goals as well, and chain those different things in order to gain as many victory points as possible. So Athenium Mystic Library, wonderful game if you love that like magical library kind of vibe. I will say that this one does not have a solo mode, but there is a fan-made solo mode that I really enjoy that is on the Board Game Geek page for Athenium Mystic Library, so definitely recommend checking that one out. But yes, a wonderful game. And then another game that has the same magical library vibe is a game called Ex Libris. There was recently a newer version of this game that has come out, but in this one you are again kind of organizing books on bookshelves, but the books in this game are not, you know, individual books in like little tile form, but they are on cards. So you're going to be placing cards in a tableau in order to organize your library in a specific way. I do believe that you're trying to organize them in alphabetical order. And again, with this one, you have all of the different funny titles on the sides of the books, and you're trying to avoid certain categories of books, and you're trying to get more of another category of book. The main mechanism in this game is worker placement. So you are placing out workers in order to get these different cards and do different actions in order to configure your bookshelves in certain ways to get victory points. So that is another magical library board game that I recommend. And next up is a board game that literally speaks to my soul. If you are an introverted person that just loves to be home, if you're a homebody, reading your books and playing your solo video games and your solo board games and stuff like that, this is the game for you. And that is a game called A Place for All My Books, which this is one that I recently got a final version of. I did do a solo playthrough of this on the channel when it first came to Kickstarter, but I finally got a final copy, and this game is so much fun. It is absolutely beautiful, and it is all about, like I said, being an introvert, being at home, organizing your book collection, and then eventually building up your social battery to go out into town in order to buy different fun things from the shop in order to get more books for your collection. Kind of working your social battery down in order to do various things in town, and then eventually, once your social battery has depleted, making your way back home in order to kind of recuperate and then organize your book collection in order to fulfill these different goals. It is a very puzzly game in that respect, where you are kind of moving your books around on your own personal board in order to have specific goals and configurations of where your books are in your house to get those victory points from those goals. So yeah, A Place for All My Books is absolutely wonderful. I recommend you check it out if you haven't heard of it already. That is a wonderful, wonderful game. And then lastly for this category is not so much a game that has a library or book theme. It kind of is a little bit of a book theme, but it's more so like a spelling game. So you are going to be spelling various words, which I feel like is something that most people that read books enjoy doing as well. But basically, this is a game called Paperback Adventures, and you are going to be doing some deck building where all of your cards are going to be various letters that you're going to have a hand of card each round, and then you're going to have to spell different words with the cards that you have in your hand in order to attack these different monsters. And you're going to be going through various monsters, working up to a boss, and then you're going to be defeating that boss as well. And there is kind of like the base game, and then you also have these different kind of books that you're going to be getting that are expansions that introduce different bosses and different characters, and each character is going to be having different special abilities and stuff like that. So if you enjoy like a monster and boss battling game, but also within like a bookish theme and spelling, I definitely recommend this one. It's very interesting, but it is very, very fun, and I recommend it. All right, and the last category before I get into a few miscellaneous recommendations is the cozy beverage category. So coffee and tea, which I feel like as cozy gamers, we just absolutely love. And there's nothing like a cozy cup of coffee or tea while you're playing a cozy video game or cozy board game. So yes, I will say that there's not a ton of like video game examples for this, aside from one that I think of, which is Coffee Caravan, which is a game that I have loved recently. But if you guys do have any recommendations for cozy video games that are like coffee and tea themed, let me know. But I just wanted to include this category because there are a lot of very cute board games that are coffee and tea themed. So the first one that I want to mention is a game called Coffee Roaster. It is a solo only game, and it is a bag builder, which you are basically adding chips into a bag that eventually you will randomly be taking out chips in order to brew a cup of coffee, which I absolutely love this game. It is wonderful. You have the kind of configuration rounds where you are going to be building up your bag and making your bag as good as possible so that when you get to the brew phase and you are brewing this cup of coffee, what you are taking out of your bag is going to be the best that you can possibly get when brewing that cup of coffee. So that is a fun one. You are game to game choosing various different brews of coffee and stuff like that, which is fun. So that is the first recommendation, Coffee Roaster. Next up is a game that is a little bit more hectic. So it's definitely a game that reminds me of Coffee Caravan and kind of those like overcooked games where you're running around rushing, trying to fulfill these different orders. But the game that I'm talking about is a board game called Coffee Rush, which you are taking a meeple and moving around to collect various resources in order to fulfill these different orders of coffees that you are trying to serve to people at your cafe. And this is a little bit of a stressful game. You are getting more and more orders and building up these orders, and if you run out of time, they do leave your cafe and it's kind of negative points. So it is a little bit of like a real-time game in a way. I will mention that this game does not have a like in-box solo mode, but I haven't actually looked to see if there's like a fan-made solo mode for this one, but I would maybe think that there might be one. But yeah, Coffee Rush is so much fun. And I think this is the board game that gives me the most Coffee Caravan vibe. So yes, that is another recommendation. Next up is the smallest game that I think I'm talking about in this entire video. And this is a game that comes in a little wallet, so it is just cards, and that is a game called A Nice Cuppa, which this game I think is just the most relaxing and tranquil game out of all of them that I'm talking about today, aside from one actually that I'm going to be talking about in the miscellaneous category. But yes, like I said, this is a game where you only have cards and you have like 2 lines of cards and you're trying to move around cards in various ways in order to achieve a goal at the end. So it is a very simple game of simply just moving around cards, but it is very challenging and very relaxing, and you can, if you don't achieve it on your first try, you can just set it up again, play it again. Very easy to get to the table, and I absolutely love the art in this, and I love the theme of this, and just trying to calm your mind, I think, is like the theme of it. And there's some like different expansions that add in more things, and it is just such a wonderful little game. If you're specifically looking for one that you can take like traveling with you, if you can just put in your purse or your pocket, this is the one for you to check out. And then lastly for this category, this is not a coffee themed game per se, but there is coffee in this game. But this is actually a game called Sunrise at the Studio, which you are a potter going and, you know, making pottery. You are going to be using these different cards, and this does play solo, which I love. And the cards are going to have different resources that you're going to need in order to create these different pieces of pottery. And it is very relaxing, very cute. Definitely recommend that one. And in the game, you are collecting different coffee beans. And then if you are the player at the end of the game that has the most coffee beans, you get the coffee cup cards. So there is a little bit of coffee in the game, but it is more so a relaxing pottery themed game. So if that's something that you're looking for, definitely recommend Sunrise at the Studio. All right, so we have made it to the final part of this video. A huge thank you to you if you're still here watching this. I feel like this video might be a little bit long, but I really wanted to kind of give you a ton of different recommendations and have this just be this one big video that you come to in order to discover some of your maybe future favorite solo board games or just board games in general. But yes, we're going to chat about a few additional miscellaneous recommendations that I have, and then we will finish up the video. So the first one that I wanted to mention is Dorfromantik, the board game, and also Dorfromantik, the board game Sakura, which is like the Japanese version, which I have personally and I have been loving. But Dorfromantik is actually a video game. I think it actually started as a video game and then they made a board game version of it, but the video game does really look like a board game because you're placing out these different tiles. So they made a board game version where you are actually physically placing these tiles and creating this big board of this, I don't know, you're like creating a town, which I think is absolutely stunning. And then you have different goals that you are trying to achieve based off of where you place these tiles, and then you're going to be getting victory points. And the really cool thing about this game is that it has like an ongoing kind of campaign to it where you're going to be unlocking more and more things. And I have loved going through Dorfromantik Sakura personally because it just is absolutely beautiful. It is Japanese themed and I just love that type of theme. And yeah, it's very tranquil, very relaxing. So if that's something that you're looking for, if you enjoy Dorfromantik, the video game, I definitely recommend you check out the board game version of Dorfromantik. Next miscellaneous recommendation is a game called A Gentle Rain, which this is another fairly small box and a very just relaxing, tranquil game that if you're again looking for a very travel friendly game and just a relaxing, easy to get to the table game, this is one of my favorite solo games ever. It is so simple because you're literally just placing out tiles and then trying to place out these different flowers in order to win the game. If you are able to, before the tiles run out, place all of the flowers, you win the game. It is just so wonderful. I've introduced this to my mom. I've introduced it to my boyfriend's mom. She's then introduced it to a bunch of people in her life as well. And it is just such a wonderful game. So I definitely recommend A Gentle Rain. Next, I do want to give a few recommendations if you really enjoy like the game of life, the Sims kind of vibe. There are 3 different recommendations that I have. First being Adulthood, which is one that I will say I haven't played personally yet, but I do have a copy and I'm very excited to play it. It is a game all about kind of growing up and getting a job and doing different things within your life, which is kind of a theme with these different recommendations. So Adulthood is one I recommend. Another one is Your Best Life, which I mentioned roll and rights and flip and rights. And this is that kind of game where you are going to be drafting a card, and then that is going to determine the things that you're going to be writing on your page. And you do have that theme of, you know, your job and your house and different things like that, and just growing up as an adult, living your life, doing different things in your life, you know, managing your happiness and your stress and all of that. And then lastly is another one that I haven't personally played yet, but is one that I've wanted to play for so long, and that is The Pursuit of Happiness. I've heard a ton of amazing things about this game, and it really gives that same vibe as the other 2 that I just mentioned. So that is The Pursuit of Happiness. Another one I want to mention, because I know that Tales of the Shire was a recent cozy video game release. I haven't played it yet, but it looks very cute. But if you enjoy the kind of Hobbit theme, Lord of the Rings kind of vibe, a new one that I don't think is quite out yet, but I will have some more content here on the channel for it. But that is The Hobbit There and Back Again. Again, it is another roll and write game with the Hobbit theme where you are going through various chapters and you are going through different kind of adventures in this book, which I think is really cool. And each different chapter you're going to be playing differently and have different goals. So that one's very fun. I've played the first few chapters and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So that is another one that I wanted to mention, which is The Hobbit There and Back Again. And then lastly, for miscellaneous recommendations, this is a game called Tiwanaku, which this is one of my favorite solo games. I have been loving this game recently. If you are a fan of like Sudoku-esque games and deduction kind of games, like logic deduction puzzles, this one I 100% recommend. I love this game. Basically, you are trying to figure out various hidden information on this board. And it's really hard to explain, but just know that if you enjoy kind of logic deduction as well as Sudoku puzzles, this is one that I 100% recommend. All right, friends, so that is the video. We are done. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. That is my giant guide to cozy board games for cozy video gamers. Definitely let me know if you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for hanging out. Give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy. I really appreciate it and it really helps the channel. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Be sure to also comment down below. I'd love to chat down there. Let me know of any cozy video games that you recommend to me, any other cozy board games that you recommend to me, as well as anybody else watching. Let's chat down there all about cozy board games as well as cozy video games. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I love you so, so much. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and I will see you guys in the next board game video. Bye, friends!